Hello, welcome to this section on coding conventions. This section will be divided into discussing coding conventions, why is it a good idea to adhere to a style when writing code, and outline which conventions we will use for writing shell scripts throughout this course. Conventions are like agreements or standards to establish what's acceptable in a given context. Social conventions, for example, are unwritten rules that govern behavior in social settings. Following conventions give a sense of belonging and distinguish people as members of a group or team. In the tech world, conventions are used to ensure the consistency and maintainability of code. There are many areas in which conventions may apply, like architectural patterns, code project structure, and more. In this section, we will focus on naming conventions and coding style. But think about it. In more technical areas outside of social gatherings and hobbies, conventions and standards also exist for other purposes. For designing piloting boards or instrument panels for an aircraft, for example, conventions in the placement of the different controls are in place to ensure the safety and efficiency of aircraft operations. In the same way, when coding, there's value in following a set of conventions to make it easier for others and yourself to understand and work with your code. Conventions might include using consistent formatting, following naming conventions for variables or functions, and adhering to best practices for organizing and structuring your code. Following conventions can make your code more readable, maintainable, and easier to work with for yourself and others. In some community-driven programming languages like Java or Python, coding conventions spread and reach virtually every experienced or professional programmer you'll ever meet. For some languages, naming functions, variables, methods, or classes is already an established, well-known practice adopted by everyone, requiring no further discussion. For shell scripting, however, I have seen excellent coders using different styles for writing scripts, making it apparent that the community has yet to agree on which style to use when writing code. Adhering to a style when writing code is a practice everyone looking to get better at coding, regardless of their level of experience, should adopt. Having a style makes our code more readable to us and others and helps hone in good habits that synergistically helps us in our road to excellence in a skill. This section will have some recommendations and some conventions for naming variables, functions, and other things around shell scripting. We will outline some good practices in a future lecture, but I'm separating both topics as different concerns. Conventions from this section are approached from a style perspective, not from an efficiency or performance perspective. If you're an experienced coder and you disagree with these standards, it's okay. Refactoring the scripts we study in this course to match your style would be a great exercise to practice what you're learning. If you don't yet have a style when writing code or don't follow a particular coding standard, you're welcome to follow these recommendations. And by the way, this guide will not explore rules that the shell interpreter enforces to our code. Rules like having a variable assignation like this first sample because having a space in between the equal sign and the value results in a runtime error, like the second sample, are out of the scope of this guide. This guide focuses purely on style and rules that, even when not followed, our code would still work.